Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Today we're going to be discussing this Padres-Dodgers series. Going to be talking about the whole Sean Manaea stuff, going over some of the good performances, some of the bad performances over the weekend, and then we'll get a little bit into this Diamondback series as well. Only got a couple hours until that game starts. I think it's at 3:40 today. So yeah,
3:40.
about 2
Yep.
hours until it starts. But we're going to be talking about this Dodgers series. I think when we went over in the preview, Isaac, we talked about, hey, I made a big emphasis on this, but hey, you got to come out, you got to win big on Friday, you got to take advantage of a team that's kind of
Yeah.
tired.
Mhm.
They come out and they do that. Sean Manaea comes out on Saturday. What did we tell you guys? That's a lock for a loss. And it was 12-1 was the final score. And then Sunday's game was a little bit aggravating as well. So I think overall this was just a frustrating series. I mean, I didn't expect the Padres to really be competitive on Saturday, and they weren't. And we're going to get more into that whole situation because there's some serious mishandlings of how they're using the rotation right now. But what was your overall thought on this Dodgers series? Isaac, I remember you said that you thought they were going to take 1 out of 3. They ended up doing that, and your thought was basically they're going to take either Friday or Sunday this series. Surprisingly, the Padres actually kind of gained some
They
ground
rocked
in the
them.
wild card over this weekend, which is weird when you lose a series, but they were
Yeah.
actually also able to do that. But more on the Padres side than necessarily the wild card race. How are you kind of feeling right now?
I feel good. I mean, we were able to take 6 of 9 on the road. I think that's something that's pretty encouraging. Granted, you didn't play the best teams except for the Dodgers. That Dodger series was great on Friday. I mean, it was everything I expected. I had a good feeling, like coming off a series against the Mets and an 8-hour flight or whatever it was. I was really thinking they would win on Friday. You Darvish on the bump after a day off. Everything went right for the Padres that day. I think the most frustrating thing is, all right, you just won what, 3 of your last 4. You're getting hot, and you're facing the Dodgers, and you completely kill it. You know you're gonna kill that momentum by throwing Manaea, and they did it. I know you have to throw him eventually, but when you're hot like that, I just don't see the point. Like, you got to try your best to keep that momentum going. Not only were you playing the Dodgers, but now you're going into a series against the Diamondbacks, who are also playing really good baseball. So it's like, I don't know. I felt like it was a momentum killer having Manaea go up there and just essentially lose the game before we even really had a chance to see a game, I would say. And what I mean by see a game is actually see, like, the Padres compete. It was already 3-0, 5-0, whatever it was, 6-0 by the time, by like a few innings in. So it's like the game's basically already over. Very discouraging from Sean Manaea for sure. But other than that, it was a solid road trip, 6-3. Can't really complain. I had a feeling we were only going to take one. I'll take one against the Dodgers, knowing Manaea was going to pitch. And I'm really hoping that next outing or next time against the Dodgers, you're going to be throwing Snell, Darvish, and Musgrove. Or I don't know about Clevenger right now. Clevenger's kind of been iffy. Yesterday, I kind of thought it was weird to have such a short leash. Seems like Manaea has always had a really long leash. I mean, it's been 2 months of his really, really, really lackluster performance, whereas Mike Clevenger gets taken out after 3 2/3. Granted, he did walk the bases loaded and walk in a run. So tough outing for Mike Clevenger, but hopefully being able to play them in San Diego kind of makes a difference. We haven't played them in San Diego since April, so hopefully that does make a difference. Encouraging road. What's the word I'm looking for? Encouraging road trip, I would say, but very discouraging series last series.
Yeah, and you bring up the Sean Manaea stuff. The thing to me that really stood out was this is a series where it's become very clear that Sean Manaea cannot pitch against the Dodgers. The Padres had an opportunity to realign the rotation. We talked about it. Okay, they can do this. They can move Sean Manaea to Monday. He won't pitch against the Dodgers, and then he won't pitch next weekend either. And you'll have it slated out where you have much better matchups basically in these 2 series. They opt to not do that. And in all honesty, that actually makes no sense whatsoever. Like, it makes 0 sense. There's no reasoning behind it. They did the same thing earlier in the year where I forgot who it was, but they had someone not start, so they would all be on the same rest days. So they did it the opposite way to not give everyone an extra rest day. This time, they can opt to not throw Manaea on Saturday and be competitive in that game. if you look back on Sean Manaea's last couple months, I know that like everyone's been really like bothered by how he's been playing, and he hasn't been playing well. I'm not saying that, but it hasn't been as bad most of the games if you take out the Dodgers start. Like in terms of what his ERA is, it goes way down. He basically has had over the last 2 months, outside since what is it, July 11th, he's had two really bad starts against the Dodgers and one really bad start against the Royals. And the other starts are pretty meh. He hasn't been good. He hasn't been like by any means,
No.
but he cannot pitch against the Dodgers. Look at his starts against the Dodgers this year. 4 1/3 on Saturday, 8 runs. 4 innings, 10 hits, 8 runs. That was the one before. And then early on in the season, I believe he pitched against them. Yep, 4 innings, 6 runs allowed. 4 1/3 and 6 runs allowed. He's been downright atrocious. There's no reason to go and throw him. And then, Isaac, you also bring up they give Manaea the longer leash, and then the second it kind of gets a little dicey, they pull Clev. Like, and then
No.
you look at the bullpen. If you saw the bullpen's usage yesterday, it was ridiculous. So now you're in a whole nother spot where now you just had the bullpen have to eat up a bunch of innings. If you're gonna do that, you might as well have done that in Manaea's start. Like
Exactly.
he was terrible, and then you kept throwing him out there. So, and I've honestly like up until maybe like the last like month or so, I've been really happy with how Bob Melvin has managed his team. Dude, there have been some serious question marks that I've had recently. And the Sean Manaea stuff, I am completely baffled. Like, we talked about this on the show. How are we talking about it on the show being like, yeah, it's obvious? Because we fully expected that. You remember like last Sunday, I think it was? We came on, we're like, yeah, I think we're fully expecting them to skip Manaea's start. Like, it doesn't really make any sense to not do that. And then they don't. And then it's like, well, why did they not do that? And there's not an answer. There's no answer for that. Now, luckily, they are gonna skip his start next weekend. So hopefully, this is a sign that they're gonna not make this mistake anymore. But it's a stupid mistake to be just throwing games away in September. And it was really frustrating to see that. Like I was really annoyed by how they handled that whole situation.
It's just frustrating because we've seen it twice already. It's not only that we haven't seen it twice; it's that he's had some other lackluster outings. Clearly, he's not the type of pitcher that he clearly doesn't have very good velocity. Velocity is not everything, but when you don't have velocity, you got to have some pinpoint accuracy, pinpoint location. He has none of that. He doesn't have everything of all his stuff has been significantly underwhelming. I mean, earlier in the season, it was like, he wasn't the best, but he was giving you quality start after quality start after quality start. He was having some good outings, and then everything just went to shit. So I don't really know what to think of Sean Manaea right now. It's very good to see that he's gonna get his next start skipped. But realistically, you shouldn't just skip one start. You have 4 breaks in the next 18 games, something like that. You shouldn't pitch him at all these next 2 weeks, 2.5, whatever it is. You should not pitch him at all. They're going to be on regular. They should be on regular rest, I believe. All of the rest of the 4 horses, they should be on regular rest. You are not in a position to where you have to throw Sean Manaea. Earlier in the season, we were talking about, all right, we got this many games left. But whenever Sean Manaea pitches, it feels like it's a guaranteed loss. So you can eliminate minimum 2-3 guaranteed losses at this point. One of them being for sure the Dodgers. So hopefully they do that, man. I mean, he needs to get back in the bullpen, hopefully figure stuff out, work with Niebla and see what he can do. But overall, you look at the way this Padres starting rotation has been the past 2 months, they're like 10th in ERA in the NL. That's significantly underwhelming. Blake Snell's been good lately. Darvish has been fantastic. Darvish has been, other than Manny, the MVP. You can talk about Ha-Seong Kim, but Darvish going 7 consistently with great outings, he's been our most valuable pitcher easily, for sure. So that's really good to see. Right now, the pitchers I got the confidence in, obviously Darvish and Snell. Depends on the day for Musgrove. Clevenger has not been what I was hoping he would be, but hopefully he figures that out. But Manaea can't get another start for another 2 weeks. I firmly believe that. I will stand 10 toes on that.
Yeah, I'm there with you because, dude, like you look at where the Padres are at right now, they're fighting for a playoff spot. Now, luckily, the Brewers look absolutely terrible, but there's no point in just throwing games like that. That's basically what you're doing if you're tossing Manaea out there at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you can easily prevent it when you have off days, when you have things like that. Because we know come playoff time, Manaea is not going to be in the rotation. He's not going to be one of those guys. You brought up how great Darvish has been. Snell's been really good lately as well. I know Musgrove had a little bit of a slump, but Musgrove looks like he's kind of back in the swing of things. He's looked good lately. Clev has not. But those are your top three right there, pretty clearly. Those guys have been great. Luckily for the Padres, you have those three guys this week against the Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks have been playing pretty well. But still, it's definitely frustrating when we look at, okay, let's just keep throwing Manaea out there. Like, dude, what? We can't do this. Another thing that I kind of got frustrated today, I don't know if you saw, but Beatty is a DH today.
He has a 4 OPS plus.
Dude, you got to put Campy out, right?
Yeah, I don't get it. This dude has a 4 OPS plus. What are we doing?
He was hitting under 400 under a 400 slugging in the PCL too.
Like, what has he shown?
I think the only reasoning behind it is that they want lefty on righty.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But yeah, I mean, overall, we were talking about this like more of like the positive side of it. I mean, Manaea is the main thing that I'm a little bit I'm really frustrated by. So JDS, you're talking about that they haven't had a winning record since June, but this is a different team than 2 months of there. And also, if we look back at the Padres stretch, so I just pulled this up because I wanted to see. June, they had a 55% like record, right? Like winning. They went 16-13.
Yeah. Mm.
In July, they had a rough month. They went 11-14. And then in August, they went 16-13 again. So in both June and August, they've won 55% of the games. So it hasn't. I think that like the struggles of the team have been overblown. It's just that they're throwing like there's just random games where they're just non-competitive.
They're giving them up.
Yeah, they're giving them up. But when you have Darvish, Musgrove, Snell at the mound, they've been really good. They've been winning a lot of those games. They've been gaining, like they've been picking up ground, for the past couple weeks in the wild card. So, yeah, I mean, and they definitely slumped when guys got traded. But we talked about that. That's a thing that happens very often.
Yes, it happens. Yeah, especially when it's so many pieces. It's
yeah, you have three guys. You have three guys added to the heart of your order, like 2, 4, and 5. And then there's a big of a slump. We've already seen, Soto's been, I guess, slumping a little bit. He was good last night.
Mm-hmm.
But like overall, his time in San Diego, he's been good. But like Josh Bell maybe had one of the worst stretches of his career when he got traded. He's been good over the past couple weeks. So I'm not like super concerned. The offense has been putting up way more runs. That was the part that I was getting really scared about when it was like, we're putting up 1 or 2 runs or 0 runs or 15 runs, and there was no middle ground. Yes. They've been scoring 5 runs, 4 runs, 7 runs, and of course you're going to have some games where you just get shut out. I mean, Julio Urias is a great pitcher, so like that's part of it too. But the bats have been a lot better. It's just the reason that I get really frustrated is because you just keep throwing Manaea. That's going to be like right now. That's the bottom line of like why I'm frustrated is like you're not putting your guys in the best spot to win. They still need to improve driving guys in with runners on base. That's still something that's lacking a decent amount. But also, if you look into the numbers and you compare them around the league, it's really not that bad. It hasn't been that bad. Now, I think there was a couple weeks stretch where it was like, we can't bring in one dude. We can't get one guy driven in.
Yeah.
But that hasn't been the case over the past couple weeks.
Yeah. So, I mean, please, somebody, because I'm doing this on the fly. I'm trying to figure this all out on the fly. Please, somebody correct me if this is wrong or if it's out of order or whatever. But realistically, these next couple of weeks, he can go Snell today. And then from there on, Musgrove, Darvish, Friday starting against the Dodgers, Clevenger, Snell, Musgrove, Mariner series, Darvish, Manaea, because those are all back-to-back games. And then you go back to, I think it's Clevenger, Snell, Darvish, Musgrove, Clevenger, Snell, Musgrove, something along those lines, because you have so many breaks. The only time where you're going consistent games is that Mariner series. So realistically against the Mariners, you probably do have to throw Manaea. Other than that, you don't have to throw him again until that Rocky series. And if you throw him in that Rocky series, he's almost guaranteed to not start in that in the last Dodger series. So I think it all works out if you're able to do that. You can't really keep throwing him out there because this is a tough stretch coming up. Diamondbacks are playing good baseball. Dodgers are obviously one of the greatest teams of all time for right now. Mariners, 40, you know, they've only lost 20 or so times ever since some certain span. So this is a tough schedule. You can't keep throwing Manaea out there. Only against the Mariners is when I think it's excusable.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And that's why I also thought that, like, if you would have skipped him last week and you could have had him throw today and throwing against the Diamondbacks, even though they've been playing well, like, that's still it. Honestly, they probably would have been a favorable matchup today, even then, where, like, Saturday, you have, like, no shot at winning that game.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I've noticed, too, is that against the Dodgers specifically, the Padres have not really, like, prioritized throwing out their better staff, like, and they've had rest days around those rotations, and they haven't done that. It makes a lot of sense to do that. I guess, like, maybe the thought is, like, okay, we should probably throw these guys 3 days in a row, our best 3 against the Diamondbacks, and, you know, feel more confident winning those 3. But I would rather stay competitive in another game than be non-competitive. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather be competitive in more games and be like, okay, well, maybe even against Arizona, you have a bad outing from Manaea. Okay,
Yeah.
well, the offense is probably more suited to have a good performance against whoever's pitching in Arizona outside of Merrill Kelly, little asterisk there, compared to Julio Urias, though. So, like, I would rather you approach it that way, but it has been frustrating that they haven't. The final thing that I kind of wanted to bring up about this Dodger series was the ESPN announcers, and we talked a little bit
Jesus
about this.
Christ.
I think a lot of people are frustrated. I didn't really get too frustrated when I watched it. I thought it was kind of hilarious because it was atrocious. It was like forget the Dodger homerism. I wrote this one down because I was cracking up. This was a real thing that was said on the broadcast, and I don't know which guy it was, but he said, "I tell kids today, if you want to learn the game, watch it." I swear to God, that is what he said. That is one of the most ridiculous quotes I've ever heard watching any sports game. That was my problem with it, was that it was downright terrible announcing, and it was just like, okay, this is like hilariously bad. The stuff about Fernando was a little, not even a little, it was really overblown. They made it seem like he had like committed like crimes against humanity when they started talking about how he let down the kids. I thought it was like so bad that it was funny. Like, I didn't really get frustrated by it because if you're gonna get frustrated by it, it's just gonna annoy you and like ruin your day. But it was so bad, dude. It was like, and we were texting about it, but we were like, dude, what is going on in the booth, bro? They're going crazy. Like, some of the stuff they were saying was so outrageous. But I just took it as something that I was gonna watch and just be like, all right, this is kind of funny at the end of the day because it's so bad.
Dude, the Dodgers have a literal abuser on their team that pitched for them the day before, and they made Fernando out to be some criminal when there's actually a criminal on the Dodgers, like a legit criminal. But yeah, that ESPN broadcast was awful. You know, it's just really weird when they have these ESPN announcers announce about teams they know absolutely nothing about. They made it seem like the Padres were like 10 games back of a wild card spot when they're 2.5 games up on a wild card spot. They made it seem like we were completely out of it.
Did you see the part when they were like, you know, Juan Soto's been really disappointing so far in a Padres uniform. Like, he just has not been the same guy since he got traded for the Nationals. And then they pulled up a graphic, and it was like marginally worse, like barely at all. It was
exactly.
like, oh, he has the same numbers except his slugging is slightly down.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's crazy. It's actually crazy. It's I don't know, man. It's really ridiculous. Cause like, why don't you have a guy from like you put Don in for the Padres and you put who's the other? He's really good. I forgot his name from the Dodgers, but do something like that. You know, like don't. It's very.
Those have been good. Those
yeah.
broadcasts have been really good.
Both of those broadcasts are two of the best broadcasts in baseball. Dodgers and Padres broadcasts are very, very, very good. So it's like, yeah, you might get a little bit of bias from each side, but at least it's not like complete Dodger homer. Like, I understand they're 100, they're about to set the record, they're on pace or whatever to break the record, something like that. But it's crazy that we are getting made out to be some shit team when we're on pace to make the playoffs.
Dude, yeah, that one was funny, the Soto stuff. And And it's also people are commenting. It's Joe Davis. Yeah, Joe Davis
Yeah,
is like
he's
really,
a
really
beast.
good announcer.
Beast. Mm-hmm.
And which one was that? I don't know if that might have been the Peacock broadcast, which was like a joke when it came out because everyone's like, "What are we doing? How is
He's better
Peacock
than
have a?"
ESPN.
Yeah, like it was bad. So I don't know. I mean, it was kind of like so funny. But I don't know. It reminded me. There was a Monday Night Football broadcast last year, and it was the Raiders. Who was it? It was the Raiders and the Ravens game, and dude, they were just going crazy about guys, and it was Max Crosby, and I swear to God, bro, if this was imagine this was the first football game you ever watched, you would have thought that Max Crosby was Lawrence Taylor. The way that they were hyping him up, it reminded me of that. But I didn't watch the interview with Mookie. You said the interview with Mookie was actually pretty good.
It was sick. Yeah, it was sick. Mookie was really cool. Like, yeah, it was a long interview, but that was a really good interview. I really liked hearing what he had to say. I mean, it's just crazy because he played in Boston and all that. So like, I liked hearing about his opinions from and like the differences between Boston and LA. Granted, there will be some big differences, and they genuinely did ask him some pretty solid questions, and he had some pretty good things to say about Juan Soto. So I did enjoy that Mookie interview. It was solid.
Yeah, so at least they had, I don't know, something. And when they did Soto, the Soto interview was also good. Some of the interviews have
It
been good,
was,
but
yeah.
it's more about
Mm-hmm.
the players on the
Yeah.
primetime games.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did think that we should bring that up just because some of the stuff, dude, the Tatis, it was so funny. They're like,
Wild.
Tatis has ruined the hopes and dreams of many children. We will not see a child smile for the rest of the year because of Fernando Tatis. Like that was okay, not really, but like that was basically what they were
Basically,
getting
what
at.
they made it seem to be.
Yeah, it was like, yo, we gotta calm down, man. This is getting out of hand. But I don't know. I thought it was kind of like I said, I wasn't upset by it. I just thought it was kind of funny because it was like, yo, like this is so bad.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. What else for the series? Clev has looked awful. Clev has looked really bad lately. I think that's the
Yep.
biggest concern outside of Manaea is that he has really, really started to struggle.
100.
I don't know. Is there anything else like from this series that you are kind of looking back on? Like, oh, we definitely got to note this.
No, I think the Padres, they took advantage of some situations with runners on. And I mean, especially that first game, they had 3 home runs and they smashed them. So that was a very good game. Even yesterday, like, yeah, 4 runs isn't great against the Dodgers, but realistically, 4 runs, you're in a situation where you should at least be competitive. And most of the time you should win putting up 4 runs. So that I was actually a little encouraged by the offense, although the average might have not been there, on base percentage might have not been there. That doesn't really matter too much at the end of the day. If you're hitting with runners in score position, if your timely hitting is on point, that is essentially how you win baseball games. And they were doing that. It's just that Mike Clevenger's control and even his fastball location has been very lackluster lately. So that's kind of been what's killing him, especially in that Giants game. There was one fastball in particular. I forgot where it was located, but it wasn't located properly, and Jock Peterson took it deep. So fastball location and even a little bit of his stuff have been a little lackluster. Hopefully he figures it out.
Yeah, and he's definitely had a lot of like. It also feels like it's like 4th or 5th inning consistently when the
Yeah.
lineup's seen him a little bit, and then he
Mhm.
just starts. And maybe it's like he's pounding the zone too much. I'm not sure. He talked about that. They were talking about on the about him that he had said that like he's throwing his fastball a lot more. Maybe it's like the other teams are seeing the fastball enough times where they're, as it gets later on in the game, they start being able to hit the fastball a little bit better, and then he starts hanging some of these breaking balls because he can't really like, I don't want to say like command the fastball, but he can't, generate swings and misses with the fastball as the game starts going on and on. But it's just that's been frustrating. I also see goofball goofball asks here about the ump call on Grisham. I think that the ump call on Grisham is getting look. It was a terrible call, but there's like so many terrible calls throughout a game. The problem with Grisham is that Grisham can't hit with guys in scoring position. He doesn't swing the bat. How many times have we seen Grisham strike out looking with guys on base this year?
Or try bunting with 2 strikes.
And what's to say that the next pitch is right down the heart of the plate, fastball down the middle, and then Grisham swings and misses? Like that's probably more likely than not. So I think and then also you allowed like 5 runs the next inning, so that was kind of ruined it. But yeah, I don't know. I think
14 games or 15 dubs the rest of the way out of the next 27, 28, whatever it is, it probably gets you in the playoffs. The Brewers have to, if you win 14,
Dude, the
the
Brewers'
Brewers
schedule's hard.
the Brewers have to win like 18 or so if you win 14 or 15.
So remember when we talked last week and we were talking about, okay, after this week, this is going to be a big telltale sign of where the Padres are at. They have to, really kind of win a lot of these games. They gained a couple games on the Brewers. They jumped the Phillies, and they went 4-2 in a week where they were facing some really tough pitching.
Yes.
This was a big dub for the week. And you look at how the Brewers played. The Brewers got destroyed this past week. They've been awful. And now you look at the Brewers' schedule up ahead. I believe they play, I want to say, is it them that plays the Mets and the Yankees?
That's the Phillies.
That's the Phillies? Okay,
Right.
The Brewers' schedule is also hard. Let me pull it up right here. One sec.
I'll pull up the Phillies.
Yeah, the Phillies is tough too. The Phillies also need to get Bryce back though.
Yeah, that is true. I think they already got him back.
It is the Brewers. So the Brewers, oh my God. The Brewers are playing in course today. They play a 3-game series. Then they have a doubleheader on Thursday. Then they have a weekend series against the Reds. So those are all games in a row with less than a day of rest because you have the doubleheader. And then they have an off day. And then their next 3 series are Cardinals, Yankees, Mets.
Mm-hmm.
And then they play the Reds, and then they play the Cardinals again. That's brutal. That is really rough. So, I mean, I don't know, dude. I don't think the Brewers are any good.
Yeah, and you look at the Phillies, they play Luzardo today, who has a 3.44 ERA. They're pitching Nola, though. Nola's really good. And then in the third game of the series on Thursday, they're facing Alcantara. So Sandy Alcantara. So the next series, I think they're going to have to face Alcantara again. And then they play the Braves. And then they play the Blue Jays. And then they play the Braves again. And then they play the Astros to end the year.
Okay, so they have a hard series. Dude, why does everyone keep saying, oh, like, the Padres have a harder schedule than these teams? They don't.
Mm-mm.
It just has not been the case. Like, the Padres they had a good week. I mean, that's the thing at the end of the day, even though, just stop throwing Manaea, man.
Yeah. Manaea killed it, bro. Manaea killed it.
But yeah, you're half game up on the Phillies and 3 games up on the Brewers, and the Brewers are about to have a rough schedule. Also, the Brewers are also losing right now to the Rockies 3-0. The Rockies scored 3 runs in the first inning.
So question for you and for everyone. I don't know if you know this, but I think as of late, I forgot how many games, the Braves have been just as good in terms of record or better than the Dodgers. Assuming the Braves don't jump the Mets, do you really want the 5th seed? I used to.
So the Braves easily could jump the Mets. That's another
they're
thing.
like a game and a half back, right?
They're a game back right now, yeah. So they could easily, and they've been playing better. And I don't know if they have any matchups coming up, but they've beat the Mets the majority of the times that they've played.
Good ass team, dude.
Yeah, the Braves are legit. The Braves are super legit. If you're the 5th seed, would it be that you would play the Dodgers in the second round?
Yes. If you're the 4th or the 5th seed and you win, you play the Dodgers in the next round.
And then if you're the 6th seed, you would play the Mets. I'd rather play the Mets the thing is, I'd rather play the Mets in a 7-game series.
Me too.
Spread out DeGrom and Scherzer, and you can beat the Mets, bro. That's the thing. That's why, the last thing you want is to have to play the Mets in the opening round. That would really suck.
Completely.
I think you want to play the Cardinals. I know that you've said that, like, the Cardinals
they haunt us.
Yeah, but the Padres probably match up the best against them. Cardinals don't have that great of pitching. So, I mean, not like their pitching's bad or anything. I don't want to be ripping on the Cardinals. I don't think they're a bad team. Their lineup has been really good, and it's been better than the Padres lineup throughout the season. But yeah, I don't know. That's probably what you go for. But yeah, Jason also says right here, let's just worry about making the playoffs.
Completely agree.
And so that's the thing. Like, you're gonna be happy if you get the 5th or the 6th spot. It doesn't really matter. The only thing with the Mets, though, if you play them in a longer series, I'll say this: if you play them a 3-game series, you're gonna get cooked by them.
Yep.
But the Padres have played the Mets really well, and they've played over the past couple seasons.
We beat them
almost 5 out of 6 times this year.
Yeah,
and that was before the trade deadline too.
Yeah, exactly.
And that was with Scherzer, not DeGrom, but with Scherzer.
Not to mention the guys that we acquired at the trade deadline used to play the Mets all the time. So I mean, it's going to be nothing new for them. So I mean, like I would be happy to just make the playoffs. I guess the one team I don't want to run into the Mets or the Braves first. I mean, I know it was not that long ago that we were talking about, oh, the Braves don't have that great of a rotation, but Max Fried competing for a Cy Young. Kyle Wright, I think is his name. He's like 17-3. His ERA has got to be something pretty damn good. Strider just struck out 16 dudes. So the rotation, and Charlie Morton always is really good in big time games. Like, it's actually kind of crazy because he's old but he actually does good in the playoffs. So I mean, that's kind of not a team that I want to run into at all.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Dude, yeah, the Braves have been really hot, and the thing is, they were back from the Mets for like they were quite a few games back. It was like 8 games back not long ago, like a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the Mets haven't even been playing bad. That's the thing. That's how good the Braves have been playing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what the Braves are in their last 10. 7-3. So they've won 5 in a row. That'll help. Yeah, I really wonder if they're going to be playing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Max Fried. Yeah, Max Fried's been insane. He's not going to win it though. It's definitely Alcantara.
Nah, it's gonna. Yeah, it should be. It should be.
Yeah, he's definitely deserves it. What about for this upcoming this D-back series? What are you thinking? Going for the sweep, right?
I haven't even checked the matchups.
I mean, the Padres are throwing their best 3. We got a best right there. It's Snell, Musgrove, Darvish. You're playing the Diamondbacks. Okay. The Diamondbacks have been hot. That's cool. You got to go out and take care of business. Either 2 or 3 wins is kind of the only acceptable thing in this series.
I'll take 2. Darvish winning his start or winning today. Merrill Kelly is pitching tomorrow.
So Musgrove's going to have to be good.
Yeah, he's going to have to be really good. Exactly.
Yeah, no, the Diamondbacks have been hot. That's the thing. That's why I think this is a legit series.
It's kind of a trap series, you know, like in the NFL, there's trap games. This is kind of a trap series.
Dude, the Diamondbacks are 8-2 in their last 10. They also were just, I mean, they're also, who did they beat though? They beat the Brewers. I want to see who they've been beating lately. The Brewers, I mean, we were just talking about the Brewers are not good.
Nope.
Okay, they beat the Brewers 3 out of 4. And then they beat the Phillies twice. Oh, dude, they're helping us out. I like it. They're gonna go beat both those teams and then get swept by us. That's what I would like to see.
Sandbag for us.
And then they swept the White Sox. The White Sox are an absolute mess. Yeah, and then before that, they kind of got roughed up they got swept by the Cardinals. Like, yeah, they did all right. Like, I don't know, not that great. But yeah, dude. I mean, this is one that I think that you don't have. I guess you don't technically have the advantage on Tuesday, but it's like a toss-up game kind of. And you look at the Padres lineup and you look at the Diamondbacks lineup. You'd rather have the Padres lineup for sure. But you gotta definitely take today's game, and you definitely gotta take Wednesday's game as well. And then you have the off day, and then you can kind of realign. It's only this series and the Dodgers series at home, and then there's another road trip, right?
I believe so. And then I believe we finish with hella games at home. Like the last 9 games or so are at home. Something like that.
Yeah. I think there's one more road stretch. Let me double check. My phone's right here, but it's about to die. Okay, yeah. So there's technically 2 road stretches, but there's 9 games at the end. So yeah. Chase Field, second home field. Yeah. No, they got to take care of business today, though.
Yeah, completely agree. Today's very important.
Anything else you got?
I don't really have anything else, man. I mean, go out, win today. Forget about the last series. I mean, 1 against the Dodgers isn't the worst thing in the world. We left the road trip 6-3. Pretty happy with that. So, yeah, let's just see how it goes the rest of the way. Hopefully we get to 88 dubs.
Yeah, keep extending that lead on the playoffs. I think staying in float with the Phillies is good, but I think it's really more just about monitoring the Brewers. Like, that's the kind of the only team. The Brewers are really just playing themselves out of the playoffs. But yeah, the Padres got to take care of business. Got to get a series win here, and got to start getting some momentum. I think the biggest thing is you got to get hot at the end of the season. I mean, we've talked about it time and time again. I think maybe the biggest storyline that I think that we'll kind of be looking over is, are the 4 main guys in the rotation clicking by the end of the season? Right now, you got 3 of them clicking, and you don't have Clev clicking. And if you have Clev clicking too, because, dude, Clev was really good at the beginning part of the year.
Yeah.
And the last month he's not been good. If he can turn it around and the other guys can stay consistent, you're gonna have a really scary playoff rotation.
Yeah.
Like, and that was the other thing. Like, we brought up the Cardinals. The Cardinals rotation is not on the same caliber. Like, if they're gonna throw out 4 playoff guys, there's a couple guys like not that great. So they did make a move for, who was it Montgomery at the deadline,
Yes,
and he's been
Montgomery's been
really
good.
good.
Yeah,
And
he's
that's a
been good.
great move for them, but it's like him and Wainwright are their 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that's all right. But then after that, it's not the best rotation. So, yeah, that's probably all I got.
I got nothing else.
All right, guys. Hopefully the Padres take care of business today. We'll be going live tomorrow as well. We also might start clipping some of these segments from within the live stream. I'll pin a tweet or pin a comment, so if you like click on the video, you know that it's from the live. But we're gonna be streaming today, tomorrow, and Wednesday as well. So we'll be streaming the next 2 days as well. That's gonna do it. Rough series this weekend. Got to bounce back against the Diamondbacks. I feel like that's kind of where it's at. But yeah, all right, guys. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you guys all tomorrow.
Peace.